Good evening and welcome to We All Gonna Die Wednesday. Thank you for joining me tonight in this very special We All Gonna Die Wednesday. Livingston man, roll that beautiful beam footage.
We all gonna die. We all gonna die. We all gonna die. It's a we all gonna die Wednesday.
And just like that, we all gonna die Wednesday. How's everybody doing tonight?
It's been a great day so far.
Oh, certainly, certainly. I'd like to welcome everybody to this very special edition of We All Gonna Die Wednesday. I'm not going to leave them waiting any longer. Livingston man, could you bring up our esteemed guest for this evening?
Let's see if I can break it.
Ladies and gentlemen, New York Prepper is here with us tonight. Greg, how you doing, buddy? It's so good to see you. I hope all is well with you and yours, my friend.
Everything's going good.
Fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for being here, man. I think it's super important. You know, here in the States, a lot of people have their heads in their sand about the things that are going on overseas. And I wanted to bring in my resident expert, my buddy, NY Prepper, who I personally consider you the expert on the Russia-Ukraine thing and everything that's going on with Israel, the Middle East. When I'm looking for news on particular topics, you're my go-to guy, bro. Honestly, you've always been, and you've dived into it so deep that you just know what's going to happen over there. You're almost like the shaman of World War III at this point. And I think it's super important for folks here to really understand just how serious things are over there right now.
Not me.
Well, thank
with
you
the
for
phone
the
not muted.
kind
Sorry.
words. I appreciate it.
No problem, bro. And if you guys don't know, NY Prepper channel just crested 200,000 subscribers and is rocket shotting at this point. It's incredible how fast the channel is growing now. Once the word gets out about you out here spreading the truth, it's taken off like a rocket ship, man. Congratulations, bro. All your hard work is
Thank you.
paying off. And
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I'm really happy for you. I really, really am. And you know, some
Thank you. Thank
people love to hate, and I love to see friends win, man. I love to see the people come up and do better. It warms my heart, it warms my soul, and I hope that for everybody, man. Honestly.
Yeah, thank you, man. And that's a testament to your character that, you're not just thinking about yourself all the time and, you care about your friends. So thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem, buddy. No problem. So what's going on, bro? What's the latest for the folks out there? I know there's a lot going on. I was reading the news this morning, and none of it looks any good. You know, the more I read, the scarier things seem to be. Is it as close as we think it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I've been saying for a while that, there wasn't going to be any peace deal in Ukraine. And sure enough, I'm right again. I don't mean to brag, but I was warning people for several months that there's not going to be a peace deal. They may have some kind of like temporary ceasefires or something like that. They may try to work something out in certain areas, but as far as like a miraculous peace deal where the war is just going to suddenly end and the fighting's going to stop and they're going to lay down their guns, it's just not going to happen, So they may have some ceasefires, like they agreed on like energy ceasefire where they're not going to strike each other's energy targets anymore.
Right.
But the fighting in general, I don't believe is going to stop entirely. Now, there is potentially a possibility that Putin could agree to some kind of a ceasefire, but it's going to have to be on his terms. He's not the type of guy who's going to, um, just like surrender and cave into the West, and cave into the U.S. I mean, that's like um, his whole purpose of his presidency and his existence is to basically defeat us.
Yeah.
He was a KGB spy. There's nothing more that, I mean, he talks about it all the time, how, America is like the hegemony and the world leader, and, that he doesn't like that we're like the world leader. And so for him to now suddenly just cave in and, cave into the pressure of Trump, number one, it would make him look really weak around the world. His status of this, uh, tough guy who's not afraid to push the red button would just immediately diminish. And that would have a cascading effect on a lot of things for him, including at home. In Russia, people would lose respect for him, especially his hardline supporters that really hate America and see us as like the big enemy, the mortal enemy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things for him that, he can't just back out of this now, but I could see him agreeing to like a ceasefire in a way that's on his terms for the most part. And what that would allow him to do would then be to redeploy his forces to Europe, towards the border of Europe, like the Baltic countries or Poland, and try to invade over there while he's got some kind of a temporary ceasefire in Ukraine, so he doesn't have to devote all his forces there. So that would be something to look out for. But he just ordered a conscription of 160,000 Russians from April through July. So
Yeah, I
that's a
saw
pretty
that.
short period of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just like literally the next 2 to 3 months. He wants to bring up 160,000 troops, and they're going to be doing big training exercises in September in Belarus, like right on the border of the Baltics. So we know how that goes with, Russia doing training exercises on someone's border.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean,
So,
it's so hard nowadays with the modern technology to disguise an invasion. You really can't, and I think everybody knows that. And what they do is they disguise them as training exercises, and then
right,
just go live from there because it's kind of the element of surprise, I guess, even though it's announced. It's just supposed to be
right,
an exercise, and your guard might be up a little bit, but you're not expecting all of those vehicles to come rolling across your border.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, they also disguise their movements in other ways too. They've gotten really crafty. Like they've been putting troops and equipment in tractor trailers, 18 wheelers, and they've moved them to the border of Lithuania and Poland, and now they're just sitting there. There's a line of them several miles long, just sitting there, tractor trailers, just
wow.
parked right on the border, and that's like the perfect way to disguise equipment and stuff because they're enclosed space. You can't see through that. So
Yeah,
uh, there were also reports during the earlier days of the Ukraine war that they were actually literally moving troops in like rail cars. I don't know if you remember that or not, but they were cramming in troops inside of like industrial grade rail cars.
wow, wow. Like just
So
ship them CSX, huh? We'll just send them
yeah,
over.
pretty much.
Wow, wow. Well, warfare is deception, right? So you can't really show your hand. And to be able to move that much equipment and that many people around, it takes hella logistics, man. Hella logistics, and you gotta be pretty sly because we have some of the most sophisticated surveillance equipment in the world here in the United States, and we see everything that moves on the ground that's the size of a soccer ball or bigger. So
That's what they tell you they can do.
yeah,
See how they muted my
Yep.
microphone? That's what they tell you they can do. Any capability they demonstrate is actually much more advanced and is way better than what they allege to be able to do.
Yeah, I'm sure. 100%, man. They don't tell everybody what they got. Otherwise, people would freak out.
Yeah, I have a friend who he was like a technologist in the U.S. Army. He was a senior technologist in the U.S. Army, and he worked on like thermal cameras and radars and stuff. And he told me like the reconnaissance planes that we have, like the AWACS, the E3 Sentry, and the RC-135, that their radars are so sensitive that they can literally see a mouse from like 200 miles away.
You heard
That's
that?
how sensitive their radars are. I mean, that is just insane, you know? So that's the kind of capabilities that we have. And we're now deploying these in the Baltic countries and Poland every single day, you know, constantly patrolling. So, you know, they
Yeah.
wouldn't be
That's how
doing that for
MH
no reason, you know?
That's how MH370 went down. AWACS got way too close to it and fried its radar and transponders, and rendered the plane useless.
You think so?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what happened.
That's a good story. I like
They
that.
overflew a classified exercise without knowing it, got intercepted by an electronic countermeasures aircraft, and it fried the critical electronics of the aircraft. That's what happened.
Wow. I like it. I'm gonna run with it.
I was there.
Um,
I seen it.
it's seeing all these other countries, Greg, preparing for what looks like World War III, not just World War III, but nuclear war, World War III. I read an article today about the bunkers that they're putting in. I can't remember what the country was, but they have enough bunkers for like 7 million people of their 12 million population. I want to say it was Switzerland.
Okay.
One
Could
of
be
those.
Finland too.
Yes,
Finland,
that's who it was. Finland.
Sorry,
Yeah,
5 million
Finland.
of
Yep.
you can't get in.
Finland has crazy
You guys.
bunkers. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're modernizing everything now, and they hope to have it done in the next 2 to 3 years. Everybody seems to have this 2 to 3 year timeline, man. I think they're behind schedule personally, just in the fever pitch that things are building up here. With all of the bombers and stuff that we're staging at Diego Garcia, it kind of looks like we're looking at a head-on confrontation with Iran, and listening to Russia's rhetoric back that, they're not going to stand for it. I get a little nervous, man, I get a little nervous.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Do we have 2
Yeah,
to
well,
3
first-
years?
Yeah, 2 to 3 seems a little bit far out there. Some are saying 5 to 10. Like a lot of these European countries are saying that, oh, Russia's going to attack us in 5 to 10 years, and it's like, when is Putin going to attack? When he's like, 85 years old?
Yeah.
Now he's not going to wait that long. But
Is there any
before I
chance he's
tell
like
you
the
about,
Russian Joe Biden? Is there a shred of that? Like, it's like he's being propped up by this propaganda
live
machine,
forever.
Put on a pedestal. Like, who even knows? Is that even him? Like, do they have cyborgs? I can speak from example that they do.
Well, he's got some body doubles for sure.
They
He's got
bot-
body doubles.
They got good bots. I've seen them. But I wonder about this Putin guy, because he's obviously just gonna kind of stay in power until like he dies, like
Yeah.
clearly, right? So I mean, yeah, this is a thing to look for down the future. Is like you see a little bit of Stalin in him, right? His statesmanship is a bit more polite, but at the end of the day, he's still
He's a KGB agent, bro.
yeah, and born and bred into that system, and is you call it indoctrinator or whatever.
Yeah, literally born into it, right? I mean, his father was KGB as well.
So
no?
there could come a time where he has to proverbially poop or get off the pot. Where what sort of legacy is he going to take and chisel in stone for Mother Russia? Or just
Yeah.
be another in a long line of like failed losers that didn't get it done. Like,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure on him to win 100%. And it makes it all the more dangerous, honestly.
Yeah, we've talked about that. The threat of him losing and using nukes, that's still on the table for sure. But
you have
I
to
would
ask
say,
what's the
when
gain
you-
from it? Is the mutually assured destruction doctrine, like, which is, if as crazy as it sounds, the only thing that's saved us this entire time from being annihilated already is the fact that your enemy kind of can't respond without invoking the same on himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think there's a more sly way that they could pull this off, Greg? Do they think that nuclear war is actually winnable?
They do actually. The Russians always did. The Soviets always thought that nuclear war was winnable. That was like the center of their nuclear, program was a first strike on the U.S. And even to this day, if you look at the way the Russians have their nuclear triad set up, it's set up around a first strike, not as much a retaliation strike, versus ours is set up more for a retaliation strike because we have most of our nukes in our subs.
Yeah.
So like 2/3 of our warheads that are deployed are actually in our submarines, which you could use those as a first strike, of course, and they will be used potentially as a first strike in certain situations, but that's more of a survivability leg of our triad.
Right.
Do you think that
so we can hit them no matter what, but Russia has most of their missiles are on land, and they're developing this, new Satan II missile, which is like a super heavy liquid fueled ICBM, which no country uses liquid fueled missiles anymore because it takes 2 to 3 hours to fuel up the missile. So as a retaliation, it's useless because you need to retaliate immediately. As soon as your radars pick up the missiles are launching, or your satellites pick up that missiles are coming to you, you immediately launch yours because then your missiles could get destroyed. But if you have a liquid fueled missile, by the time you fuel it up, they're already going to be destroyed. So the fact that Putin is mass producing these new monstrous liquid fueled missiles, there's really no purpose for them other than
First strike.
A first strike.
Wow.
Exactly. And the fact that they're super large, meaning that they can carry a massive payload. And that's one of the reasons why he went to the liquid fueled, because the liquid fueled, you don't have as many constraints on the size. So you can build it as big as you want, and it can carry massive warheads, lots of them, and that would be like a first strike, So,
Wow.
yeah.
Is there anything to say how many reentry vehicles these things are capable of holding? Because I know every rocket they have, all the traffic cones come out, right, and then some of them are
Right.
duds and some of them are live.
They can independently target different areas.
different things.
Multiple independent reentry vehicles.
Yeah,
called
MIRVs.
MIRVs.
Yeah.
I
They
guess,
also have decoys too.
Yeah. I mean, those things give off chafe. They give off everything. They're again deception, right? Yeah, you have to deceive the people to be able to sneak that shot in there.
Yeah.
My question, I guess, is I think, the more MIRVs they have on board, the higher likelihood of hitting a target. And with something that big and liquid fueled, being able to carry heavy duty warheads and maybe some conventional ones as well, just to really mix things up for people. You're totally expecting a full on nuclear strike, and what you get is some toilet paper bombs, right?
Toilet paper is arguably a more sound investment and a safer commodity than nuclear weapons.
For sure.
We actually need toilet paper.
For sure.
Just saying.
So sure. Holly Ivan says, so sick of the threats of war. Holly, I couldn't agree more, but it's unfortunately it's the elephant in the room. And here in the States, they keep our head in the sand, man. They want you to root for your baseball team. They want you to talk about the Kardashians or whoever is the TV personality of the year or 2 or 3. They don't want you knowing all of the things that could potentially go wrong in the world.
And this is why it makes you sad and anxious, right?
Yeah.
It's not compatible with our. Somewhere along the line, America adopted this triad of dystopias, and we've blended them together with 1984, Brave New World, and Fahrenheit 451. with a little bit of like some others, but like kind of just made our own little holy book of this dystopian nightmare
True story.
and become it. This is life imitating art, is what you see today. A completely decadent society, clearly on a actually not a rapid descent, but in fact a painfully slow one
Well, true.
toward just decay. All morals are gone. Like all of our national identity has been erased. Like nobody cares. Nobody is like just we you know what we do. We have been destined to doom scroll our way through our misbegotten decadence. Whereas like when they talk about like what is it, weak men create bad times, the whole
Yeah.
cycle thing.
Yeah.
We're like in the whole good times part,
Oh yeah.
but it's a toxic good times. We are as a society in general on a rapid decline because we don't recognize the humanity in others. Just another NPC in
You
my
know what?
video
You know what
game,
it's going
bro?
to take
Like,
to bring everybody together, Livingston, man. A good old fashioned world war. That's what it's going to take.
it's our only hope. It's our only hope. We will never be
seems-
united, or we.
Well, it seems like it. You know, it would take another 9/11 style thing where everybody came together against a common enemy and put aside their differences. Man.
Yeah, that common enemy happens to be another like 50% of the human race every time. It seems to be.
Unfortunately.
So yeah, what sort of yeah, it doesn't spell great times for humanity.
Definitely not. I mean, well, this is a we all gonna die Wednesday, so
Hi, if you're here, half of you you ain't gonna make it.
hey, I count myself probably among the people who won't make it. I'll be taken out by some kid with a yeet cannon in the first half hour of
Did you
shit
ever?
hit the fan.
Do you remember the
Right.
book, the Butter Battle book by Dr. Seuss?
Yeah, where they buttered their bread on the other side, and
Yeah,
they went to war over it.
they built a wall and sanctioned themselves, and it was supposed to be silly, but the only real difference was that one set of people buttered their bread on the bottom and the other ones did it on the top. And thinking about it, I would have went to war against the people that buttered the bread on the bottom. Like that's just like against God. We don't do that.
Hey, well, yeah, as we've discussed around here,
You put the
many
butter on the
times,
top of the toast, and it's never ever been done otherwise. So I would have, of course, looked at these people as alien and a threat to my.
existence.
Yeah, they weren't wrong, but the point I'm making is that this book is from like 1949,
Yeah.
and it stands relevant today in how everything is 5149. The people have spoken. No, half of them did plus one.
Yeah, true story. True story. But war is very contagious, Livingston, man. It for some reason, when people see another
profitable.
country at war, they're like, "Oh man, they're doing it all wrong. We could do it so much better. We could definitely war better than these guys." I mean, look at Poland right now. They're like, "Yo, we're ready. We're ready." They got the dragon's teeth out. They backed out of the mine treaties, right? And then mined
like
their
this.
fucking border. They're not playing around. Poland has been war's playground for far too long. And they're not going to even entertain that again this time around. And it shows. They've conscripted every male in the country. People are not messing around.
Scandal.
People
Yeah,
are
it's getting
absolutely
serious.
not messing around. Yeah.
I got a bone to pick as well as talk about being banned.
What happened?
At the 8:03 mark, I feel it needs to be said that I think that some of our moderators doesn't know who Detective Malone is, and I'm gonna once again demand that you unban me from the chat, or I'm gonna tank the entire live stream and think I ain't playing with you. Okay? I'm gonna ask you
Hey, I'll go under the
graciously and
hood.
politely,
I'll go under the hood and fix it. I'm sorry.
because I've been commenting, but I don't see it on the screen.
Yardbird says, "Poor Poland. They are Europe's buffer zone. Unfortunately, Yeah.
Poland always has been, always been the washover country that gets just devastated by the war,
Yeah.
genocided. If you, you can walk around the term, but essentially
Yeah.
treated like it's been, historically it's the Lebensraum or the expansion zone, whatever. Like
Yeah.
pick a side, but
They're not having it, man.
Poland's always been washed over between like West and East every time, and it's only recently, post 1945, enjoying a sense of actual national identity.
Yeah.
That will not tolerate this
Behavior.
treatment
No, ever again.
ever again.
No.
Poland. It's a bit of a sort the European Israel. The crimes that were committed there will never happen again, and that's final to the Polish people. I'm half Polish. I wasn't there for any of that stuff. Can't claim that, but it's in my blood, and that's Poland, and why they're far right over there. They're like right wing, and it's like, well, no, they're tired of being like just absolutely trod upon and treated like
By the world, yeah.
Europe's throughway to Russia.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a big one. I know Greg was there recently. Did you
Yep.
notice anything while you were there as far as their military buildup or their borders or anything like that, Greg?
Actually, I didn't get a chance to go like to the border of Belarus or Ukraine or Russia. I was planning to try to go there, but I just didn't have time. But so I didn't get a chance to see any kind of actual buildup. Now it would be probably impossible to even get anywhere close because now they're building this huge defense line, the biggest since World War II. But I actually didn't notice it. I actually noticed less security at the airport that I always go to when I go there than in prior years. Like 10 years ago, you would actually see soldiers walking around the airport with, AKs or whatever rifle of their choice, and they would be patrolling, just walking around in full, fatigues, BDUs, and then when you would land at the airport, they would be doing all the
Bag
paperwork, the entrance, they would all be soldiers, actually, like army soldiers. Now they seem to have relaxed that, maybe because there's more tourism and they're trying to make it seem like it's normal, even though there's a war right next door. I think there's an emphasis on trying to prevent people from being scared to come to the country. So when you go to these places, it doesn't feel like you're in a war zone. It didn't really feel that way when I was there. And I did happen to talk to a lot of taxi drivers because, I was using taxi drivers to get around. And what was interesting is this time when I was there, like 70% of the taxi drivers were either Russian or Ukrainian. And they were actually, I would say, I think there were only out of like probably 10 taxi drivers, let's say one of them was actually a local Polish guy.
Wow.
I would say two or three were Ukrainian, and then the rest were Russian. So probably like 60% Russian, 20% Ukrainian, 20% Polish. And it was interesting the number of Russian taxi drivers, which I did not expect. And then I was thinking about it. A lot of these Russian taxi drivers, they're escaping Russia because they don't want to get drafted,
Yeah.
and Russian society in general, a lot of those people are not highly educated, they're not highly skilled. So like the Ukrainians, being that they're right next to Poland and Romania, that they have access, they go into Europe, they go to universities and things like that, they get higher level training in trades. So then they go into more skilled positions when they leave Ukraine versus the Russians, especially in the rural areas, they're very poor in many cases. So they just take, lower end jobs. Nothing wrong with a taxi driver. I'm just saying it's not the same thing as a doctor or whatever.
Yeah.
It's unskilled labor, then drive yourself.
But it took me by surprise how many Russian taxi drivers there were. And it just made total sense after I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, they don't want any part of the war. They don't want to get drafted. But then I also had a chance to speak to like the Polish taxi drivers. I only had like two Polish taxi drivers out of like 15. And then I spoke to some people like at the gym, at the hotel, and I asked them, what are their thoughts? Like, how's the feeling? What do you think about the war? Most of the people, the Polish people, they didn't really feel scared. They didn't feel like, oh my gosh, we're gonna get invaded next year or something. They didn't have that mentality of like fear or panic or anything. They just kind of it didn't seem like it really crossed their mind. I don't know if it's just because people in Poland are just used to that, whether they were actually involved in some kind of war or their parents were or their grandparents were, even the generation now, Polish kids, they grow up hearing stories from their grandparents escaping from Nazis or from the Russians when they came through. So it's kind of like
They keep
just
getting younger
normal.
too,
It's
don't
not
they?
like anything like, oh my gosh, there's a war next to us. People don't really think in those terms, I guess, because they're just like numb to it. You know what I mean? But yeah, most of the Polish people I talked to, they didn't feel like anything was going to happen, but they also said, hopefully, so they weren't like 100% sure, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. I think everybody's hopeful right now that all of this comes to an end because it's shitty, man. Syria as a failed state and everybody trying to get their chunk of Syria, and then
Right.
the warlords and the Taliban and whoever the hell else is in Syria, ISIS. I don't know. I think they control the whole
Turkey now.
freaking thing.
Turkey
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
It's bad, man. We're bombing the Houthis daily. We're dropping bombs every day. U.S. is currently bombing the Houthis. Every day it's going to happen. Every time the sun goes down, the Houthis run scared because Daddy Trump's coming for them with the big boom booms. They're not messing around.
Look at me.
One,
Look at me. The world that you were raised in no longer exists. You're going to learn how to play this game, or you're going to game over.
true story. True story. True story. Yeah, you're not wrong.
I have that kind of
Livingston.
power.
You're not wrong, Livingston.
Because some people don't know who Detective Malone is.
We can talk literally all night about the things that are going on in the world and how bad it looks. But I think what we really need to discuss is that they're not talking about this here in the United States. And it's time for people themselves to take matters into their own hands and really knuckle down on preparedness. You guys should be putting away stuff on a regular basis. You should totally have your bases covered and then be piling on top of that. You know what I mean? And some of us are behind the game. Personally, I had a personal SHTF and the stockpiles are dwindling. So, as soon as I get going again,
Your SHTF is going to be personal. That's going to be the most probable version of it.
Oh, for sure.
Is that it doesn't
For sure.
affect society, but instead it affects you.
For sure. I mean, massive severe weather outbreaks that happening currently right now in the Midwest. Tornadoes on the ground as we speak, Livingston, man. It's scary times, man. A serious weather event is your most likely, followed by some sort of man-made incident, right? We've seen East Palestine, Ohio, have to get completely evacuated. And preparedness is the insurance policy that you make for yourself over time, right? And the more effort you put into that, the more it's going to be able to sustain you when something like this happens. And I think folks really need to knuckle down on some basics, man. Like just a little portable radio for listening. This doesn't broadcast.
Canned bread.
Something for listening. You better have a flashlight, a good headlamp, right? A solid flashlight. You should have a pocket knife on you at all times. Backup can opener, a way to make fire, ferrocerium rod, and a striker. This is a P38 can opener I use as a striker for this one. That way I can open my my can of Hormel's chili and cook that bad boy over the fire I make, right? It's simple things, or you could get a little fancier Get yourself one of these digital Geiger counters. Greg and I were talking earlier today about dosimeters, right? You said they were $20. You could buy.
Oh yeah.
Off the
Yeah, you
charts.
can
Look
get
at
ones
that.
that use a chemical, and so there's a reaction when the
Yeah, I use the
radiation touches the
chemicals.
chemical, it turns color. So
That's what I do.
basically, the darker the color is, it's the more dose you're receiving, and they have like a little. But these cards, they're the size of a credit card, so you can. The nice thing about them is you can keep them in your wallet, and if something happens, or even if nothing happens, you just want to monitor your exposure every day, and your how much dose you're taking, you're accumulating. You can get one of those and just keep it in your wallet at all times. And
Yeah,
but that's a good thing to get, just because number one, it's cheap. Number two, it's not reliant on electronics, which are prone to
yeah,
batteries, leaking out. Batteries get old. Like I just recently, one of my Geiger counter dosimeter things, I just had to change the battery on it, and I didn't change the battery for like 2 or 3 years, and I saw that the battery was starting to leak a little bit. Luckily, it didn't corrode anything serious or whatever, but it just shows you that you can't really truly fully rely on electronics, 100%. But yeah, those little they're made by a company called Rad Triage.
yeah. I've
You
heard
go
of
on
them.
Amazon. You never heard of them?
No, I have heard of them. I have heard of them.
Oh, you have?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah, so they're on Amazon, and you can get those cards. I have a few of them.
Let me see that thing.
And just it's not going to get as precise as like an electronic device, obviously, but it's enough to where you'll be able to look at it and be like, oh crap, I've taken a lot of radiation. I need to go and take shelter.
Yeah,
Like if you're in a situation where a dirty bomb goes off, or there's a meltdown, or there's nuclear war, you'll be able to look at it quickly and know generally how much radiation you've accumulated. Obviously, you have to keep it on your body at all times for it to work.
yep.
So it has to be with you all the time for that dose to be accurate.
We were testing this
But
thing
I
with all
think
kinds
that's
of
a
stuff.
no-brainer.
Yeah,
We sat it in Mrs. Livingston's uranium glass and put it around other things. Put the phone on top of it. And,
oh yeah, we've been throwing the kitchen sink at this this dosimeter here tonight.
dosimeter, and yeah, we haven't dosed it out yet. But I have a theory that it's programmed to ignore Chinese radiation. It's different.
Well, it is a cheap Chinese
been
radiation detector.
tuned to not tell you about certain
And
wavelengths.
David Baez said that the P51 for the big cans. Yeah, the P38 can hurt your fingers. I've got big fat thumbs, so I love the P51 can openers. You guys can pick these things up on Amazon. Super
Should I
cheap.
do it to him?
What are you going to do to him? Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot all about this.
if you guys
the
can go
Hudson
to
Valley
just-
Prepping and Survival website
Hudson
is
Valley Prepping and
actually...
Survival.com.
Yeah,
Just go
www.hudsonvalleypreppingandsurvival.com. It's a blog site. It exists. It's all new. It's made for you so that you can help be better prepared. There's some links in there. You can see some of the advertisements we got. And obviously, it's a blog site. I will be adding to this thing as we go on.
Links
And,
to the Amazon store that we're not going to click on because we learned that it kicks you
Yeah,
off and I can't get back.
once we're in the chat here, it's a whole different story. But
all links in the description as well, you guys.
absolutely.
If you click them, you don't even get disconnected from the live stream. It opens it in a new tab. We
True
do
story.
it like that for you.
Diane Nattel says Iran has closed its airspace.
Good thing. I
Not
wasn't
good.
trying to smell their air anyway. Remember that movie Spaceballs when they suck the atmosphere up? That's what they should do.
You're not wrong. But I really think folks need to knuckle down on their preparedness at this time because honestly, what are you going to lose if nothing happens? You bought some extra freeze-dried food, right? You stored a couple extra bottles of water.
I could have bought a car, Mike.
If everything goes peaceful, then, eat the stuff.
You have to be a little philosophical in that way. Is that truly it is better to have had it and not needed it than to need it and not have it.
Amen.
And the idea is that well, hope isn't a good plan, but indeed we do hope
Oh, yeah.
that it doesn't come to the proverbial that, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. I don't know very many people who wish for it to hit the fan. But everybody I talk to is like, man, I hope all this is for nothing. You know?
Yeah, and that's the vibe. That's the mentality you should have. I hope this is for nothing. And it's you can. I listened to Malone's broadcast last night when he took over your channel.
Oh.
And but he does sometimes say things that are correct. He was like, "So what are we gonna do? Is we're gonna watch the world like a light in flames, and we're gonna sit back and watch with the popcorn until it gets to our door, and then freak out."
Yeah, then try to put the fire out.
And that's the worst position you can put yourself in. But at the same time, to retort Detective Malone, you can also raise your voice and
Be heard. Yeah.
be heard and make the world a place where this is something that we can move past and we don't have to worry about this anymore. Every gray hair I have, every stress fracture and freaking just anxiety that hangs over all of us, right? It could go away. We just have to say, no, you know what? This is not the way forward.
Yeah.
Now, it's understandably, that's real easy for me to say. I was trying some kind of left
Meantime, I'm stocking freeze dried food to the rafters, bro.
But
I don't trust any of these people. You can't.
be the change you want
I am.
to see.
I am. I try to emulate the change I want to see, but in the meantime, I'm stocking
We're all hiding in our
MREs,
closets and eating Mountain House.
freeze dried foods. I'm not hiding in my closet eating Mountain House. I'll rebuild society after it fails.
I'm coming in your closet. I'm eating your Mountain House.
But while the crazies are out doing their thing, I'm going to be safe at home, eating my freeze-dried food, bro. I am not going to be out in the fray. If something comes my way, fire, war, or fallout, and I have to
is
leave,
not only good but cheap.
and I have to leave, I have a place to go to. I have multiple places to go to in multiple directions because I've built a network over the years, and other people know that they have places to go in my direction should they need to, because you never will know which way the wind's going to blow, right?
You guys do it wrong. I'm like a trapdoor spider. I'm like, if Vision Preparedness was here, he'd tell you. But
Yeah. Well, he's driving right now.
if you
He's
know,
driving.
you know. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah, NY Prepper in the house. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Greg.
honestly,
Yeah.
brought
Yeah.
the heat. 153 concurrent viewers is unheard of. And 126 likes. Wow. Likes to views ratio, high.
Up there.
Very
up there.
nice.
Thank
You know what I
guys.
don't see is nobody hitting that money button. And so
Hey, you're here. You're here. That's all it takes for me.
you're going to
man.
hit the money button, or am I
Appreciate
going to insert an ad right now?
it. That's my favorite. We've got them set so that we don't, when we're streaming, the ads don't come through. But after, if you're watching the replay, YouTube has done some stuff recently.
Nailed me
man.
with ads. They must like you. I was trying to just
don't
watch the
know
live
what
stream
heck
from
they're
last night.
Doing, bro, but they did something different with the ads recently, and I got a notice about it, an email, and it
Yep.
said the ads things are changing. They're also changing the way shorts are viewed.
It's my homie
I
right there.
don't know what's up with that. I
Yes.
don't know, man. YouTube has, they have not. Devil Dog, thank you so much for gifting memberships, brother. Thank you so much. Jay Moore, thank you so much for gifting the memberships. Really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. I don't know what they're doing, bro, but it's they've been putting me under their boot for quite some time now, and I want to thank you for your shout outs. And honestly, I wouldn't have a channel if it wasn't for you, bro. Your encouragement before any of this ever started was the thing that made me go with it. You and Angry Prepper were like, just do it, man. Just do it. Just do
Yeah, I
it.
remember that.
And
Yeah.
I thank you so much for it, because the community that I've been able to build since then is worth the world to me, man. Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm glad you're still doing it and you haven't given up.
No, man. Not
It's easy to get discouraged sometimes.
It can be. Gadrell, thank you so much, sister. Really appreciate that. It can be easy to get discouraged, and at times I get a little angry about the suppression and stuff, but I'm not the type to give up on it. You know what I mean? I just want to keep it going. Just want to keep it going. Keep informing people. Keep bringing the news, product reviews, things like that. I can't wait to
He's got a
start.
new hat.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got a new hat that came too. I can't wait to do a
It
review
was like
on
when
that.
that dude put the thing on young, what's his name, Rivers Phoenix there when in
Yeah.
Indiana Jones, he said you didn't have to lose today, kid, but you did. Whenever he said you don't have to like it, like yeah, Mike's got that hat literally.
Yeah, yeah. I do. I do.
I kind of wanted to see. I wanted you to send me a picture of you wearing the hat. You guys are gonna see it,
Oh yeah,
but not yet.
it's
I
it's
haven't
fantastic.
seen it, but
Well, I was looking for
a new
I was
thing.
looking for a hat like that to begin with, and then they reached out to me and were like, "Hey, we see that you like hats." I was like, "Well, yeah, I love hats. I'm a hat guy. My hat game is on point."
I wear these same. If I were to put Mike's hat on, it's just all wrong. Just
Yeah,
nope.
yeah. Some people can do it. Some
I don't
people
wear them
can't.
kind of hats. I hate ball caps. Hate them.
Well, that's I traditionally wear ball caps or like a paperboy hat. The Irish look.
I typically just wear a hot weather sun hat, otherwise known as a
The
boonie hat.
the old boonie. Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to the hat thing, man. But YouTube's been really good to me,
Stay
man.
tuned.
It's been
Hat
really,
video
really good to me.
coming.
And,
No, you don't get to know Rob B. You don't know what hat is it. Stay tuned, I said.
Yeah, American made. I can tell you that much.
Prep Daddy in the house. I'm about to wrap the chat at this point. I'm tired. Mamacita Navor, Greggy, Johnny Highwoods. It didn't stop Livingston, man. We need a beat though.
No, don't wrap the chat, please.
Not rapping the chat. Sitting in my studio using my electricity, saying don't rap the chat.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I guess we're not gonna rap the chat Wednesday.
We all gonna die Wednesday.
Yeah, I'd rather actually. You know what? I'd rather die than not rap the chat. So
True story.
Livingston Man only wears straw hats and only I only present straw man arguments. I'm a scarecrow.
He's just stuffed.
It's my show now, like I said. Count Troopula. Yo, everybody post your favorite SoundCloud rappers. Let's
Get him all in the chat.
let's
Get 'em
just
all in
make
the
stuff
chat.
up in the comments.
Unbelievable. Greg, how long do you think we have, bro? Do we have months or years?
Like, can I get dinner at least? Like,
I don't know. I want to say years, but it seems like just months away. It could be also a slow burn too. It's hard to say how it's going to play out, but I want to say years, but it seems like it's going to be just months before, or even less, with Iran especially. And I think once things happen with Iran, if we strike Iran, which it looks like we're going to do, then I think we're going to see all the other war fronts expand and escalate even more. Like China may try to take advantage of it, or Russia may try to take advantage of it, while we're attacking Iran or whatever. So yeah, I think once we strike Iran is when things are going to accelerate a lot more after that, I believe. So.
So I do have a question for you, Greg, here from the chat from CJ, the preparing prepper. He says, "What preps does Greg recommend the most importantly? Masks, bunkers, etc." What are your thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, number one before any of that stuff is your physical health and fitness. You don't have to be, the top-notch athlete or something, but just have decent fitness, have decent health, because that's one less thing to worry about. And you're going to have to be mobile. You can't be overweight. You're going to have to hike. You're going to have to do manual labor. If we're talking like a true grid down situation, you have to be able to do things with your hands. So decent physical fitness and decent physical health. And then aside from that, I would say, like, I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, just a bug out bag. was like a basic thing that everybody should have, and that's
Agreed.
so simple, because you can have a bunker, you can have a good safe location, but if that becomes compromised, you need to have just some basic tools, basic skills that, if you need to, evacuate, you have that. And then aside from that, your location where you live is a huge thing. Um, and it's obviously not the easiest thing to change if you're reliant on a job. You have to live where that job is, so you can't just get up and move, or whatever your career is. If you're whatever, like a big city cop, like you're not going to be able to move to a very rural location.
Yeah. Yeah.
But your physical location is huge because that's where you spend most of your time, and most likely that's where you're going to be when things go down. So, if you're in a position where you can relocate, if you feel like you're not in a safe area, then you should potentially consider relocating if you're in a position where you can. And then there's other benefits to that too. It's not just from a prepping standpoint, but also just from a lifestyle standpoint. There's different benefits to living in a safer location where there's less crime, less pollution, like-minded people, quieter pace of living, things like that, slower pace of living. So those would be like the big three, physical fitness, bug out bag, and then your primary residence where you live, and then obviously food and water storage, that's critical as well. Water is easy to obtain compared to food. So
Yeah.
um, it's better to have more food than water, because water you can get from rain, you can find from other sources, you purify it, clean it. But food is a little more difficult, so definitely have at least a couple weeks of food, and that would be like the bare minimum. And then, bunkers, unless you have a lot of disposable income, sure, if you have the money,
Yeah. Do it.
then why not? But sometimes those bunkers are not the best either. There's downsides to those as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I something about crawling
Okay,
underground.
I knew the comments was going to go nuts with that statement. He didn't mean that water is easy to get, even it's more plentiful. Food is harder to get, which if you have
Yeah.
stored up food, water is essential. You need water,
Yeah,
but if you just
absolutely.
have food like backed up, then you don't have to worry about that, and you can worry about
Right.
water.
Yeah, you should have water on hand, but you don't need like hundreds of gallons of water unless you live in a desert, you
Yeah,
know.
And you're an
You
unless
live
you're,
in the
expert
east,
water purification specialist. Like,
yeah.
right.
yeah, don't play games with your water. That's the stuff will kill you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think dirty water and poor hygiene has probably taken out as many people in war as bullets and
In
rockets and bombs.
history,
Yeah,
never mind war.
yeah, 100%. But water, I totally understand where Greg's coming from. Is that water? There's a stream down the road. There's a lake right here. There's a
It
pond right
rains.
there. Yeah, it falls from the sky from time to time.
Now, if you're
So
like the your desert folks talk about, oh, it rains where you live. Yeah, we're in Hudson Valley prepping and survival. It rains here.
indeed, it do rain.
Sorry, I gave you the wrong weather report. How's Utah
But
doing?
yeah, I am totally on board with that, Greg. Like freeze dried, man. Number 10 cans are going to last you 25 years if you don't pop the
Yep.
top on them. And when you do pop the top on them, you've got a year, no problem, right? You've got a whole year out of there, no issues. It's super important to have that food, man, because hunting and things like that are going to be next to impossible when SHTF. And I personally believe that wild game, like almost during a depression, will be hunted to damn near extinction pretty quickly, because everybody has the same mentality that I am just going to go in the woods and hunt for my food, and
Right.
it's not going to work out so good for everybody. I personally like snares and things like that, things that passive food gathering, fishing with drop lines, or net fishing if you had to with like a big old gill net. I am not trying to be out in the fray for any length of time. You know, maybe go out at night and throw some lines in the river and then come back the next night and check them and see if I caught anything. But I am not hanging out in the fray. I am not hanging out in the war zone. You guys should honestly do yourselves a service and look at some of the footage that's coming out of Ukraine and some of the stuff that's coming out of Israel and take a look at what war actually looks like. It's hell on earth, and everybody in it, soldiers included, everybody suffers. Soldiers, civilians, everybody, except for the politicians. Most of the politicians don't suffer. So keep that in mind. When they try to spread their message of war, you know, it's something that we have to say no to and say no to loudly. It's a big problem. It's a big problem, that's for sure. My goodness. Gadrell says snare trapping is a great skill to have. Absolutely. Absolutely. And your snares don't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to buy them from online or anything like that. You could pick up just some wire, you know, like picture hanging wire, things like that, and make snares yourself. It's fairly simple to put one together. But learn those skills, man, and practice those things. Practice them now while things are good, and know that you know how to do it instead of thinking you know how to do it, or you saw it once online and now we're going to try this thing and we're going to bet our lives on it tonight. So, you know, it's super important. But a lot of people think that way, Greg, and it's unfortunate. You know, they're like, oh, yeah, I saw this on TikTok and I'm totally an expert now and I'm going to go set, 15 snares and we're going to have rabbit stew tonight. It don't always work
Yeah,
out that
yeah,
way.
it takes a long time to really become a master at something, obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
even something as simple as trapping, it seems so simple, like, oh, you just, put a snare up, but there's so many details there, and I mean, even just, becoming good at that can take years, and
I'm sorry. I noticed that
so
people from Ohio started watching, and they're gonna have to get the H out of here. Okay, Dan Rose. People from Ohio started watching since Livingston Man left. You thought I left? Typical Ohio mentality. I had to take over here. What do you guys think of this stream? This has probably been the most concurrent viewers on a live stream I've been a part of.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I got a text when I was at work today, and they said, Mike's like, we got a special guest on a live stream. And then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
do tell. He said, New York prepper. And I knew you wouldn't disappoint, Greg. Like, this guy speaks knowledge. He is the patron saint of nuclear war, Sir Gregorus.
It's true. It's true. It's true.
If you want to know exactly
Funny.
what's like the unbiased, not opinion, but the unbiased fact of the matter, this has got to subscribe to if you don't already.
100%. If you're thinking about surviving nuclear war, I know that Greg has an entire nuclear war survival playlist where he breaks down everything, and you get to see Greg from like 10 years ago all the way through to today. It's a living document. It's incredible, and a wealth of knowledge in there, bro. You really went under the hood of nuclear war survival and broke it down for people. And I appreciate all the work that you put into it, man. You really went in depth on it. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a really interesting topic. It's one of my favorite topics in prepping is, nuclear war, and then obviously, bugging out, home security, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's like one of my most favorite things. It's very interesting, and I think also my whole motivation for doing that was to kind of demystify it, not just for other people, but also for myself. Like when I first started getting into prepping, I was always kind of intimidated by, nuclear war. It's very intimidating, it's scary. And I wanted to learn everything about it so I'm not scared anymore, so I can kind of put some logic behind it, like what you do and what happens. And once you kind of understand more of the details of it, it kind of demystifies everything, and you kind of feel a little bit better about surviving it or experiencing it or whatever. The thing is, we won't have a choice. People say, I
Yeah.
don't want to survive a nuclear war. Well, you're not going to have a choice, okay? It's going to happen whether you like it or not. And at that point, you're either going to know what to do or you're not going to know what to do, and I would rather know what to do than not. And is it ideal? Do I want to live through that? No, but it could happen, and that's part of preparedness, is you prepare for different scenarios. And if you're prepared for nuclear war, you're pretty much prepared for any situation. If you can
Hmm.
set yourself up to survive that, you should be able to survive almost anything. Civil unrest, grid down situation. It's pretty much falls under nuclear war stuff because it's a lot of overlap. It's just the radiation specific stuff. Protecting yourself from the radiation. But
Don't delete
I
their
mean, that's
comments. We don't do that. I was wondering about this Pedro guy. I was watching. Like, don't delete their comments. Bring it back. I can view it. Never mind. You don't have to.
Once they're gone,
What do
they're
you
gone.
say? What's his problem though? He said I didn't know scripture. He said somebody didn't know scripture. Oh, he said LOL. Whatever. Okay, I'm always interested.
There's always critics
I don't
out
censor
there, man.
people here. Ohio's not real. Okay, but I still coexist with these mentally ill people that think they're from there. That's fine.
Ohio is a mythical land.
I'll play pretend with you, bud. It's fun.
hey,
I
I've
like
been
it.
there.
So tell me
I've
about Ohio.
I've been there.
Wow, big air base. Oh, it's so cool, buddy.
I've been there.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
he's been.
I'm going back.
I've been there too.
I'm going
bro.
back a couple weeks. A couple weeks. I'm going
loved
back.
it.
Yeah, man. It's an awesome place. Yeah, I'm going back because Vision Preparedness is hosting bug out weekends in Ohio. And it's real. It's real. It's really there. And people really do go and they practice with their survival gear. And they all get together and they look out for each other. And everybody gets to see new things and try new things. And there's even a medical class going on.
Do you hear this?
I'm going to be teaching some bug out classes.
This is the ramblings of like a 4-year-old child that's been given a soda.
No, yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like,
totally.
and then they do this, and then they do
Hey,
that,
don't
and then they
worry.
do the other thing.
No,
Oh my
don't-
God, it's so.
worry.
And then you have marshmallows that grow off the trees, and then
They're
you can
delicious.
eat them. Daddy, you can eat the marshmallows.
They're delicious.
That's what you sound like talking about Ohio, bro.
It's going to be awesome. It's
You're
gonna be
just like,
awesome. I'm
that's
so
really
excited to go.
cool, buddy. Awesome.
Wait, I'll bring back plenty of video from Ohio. I'll even do some live streams while I'm there. I got a couple classes to teach. I got a lot of people to meet, right? That's how
Anne-Marie, you can get
network.
mad all you want, but I can speak 500 languages. How many can you speak?
You do need to speak 500
Shall I?
languages.
The
in New
comments
York.
is our live stream.
Greg, man, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you being here, bro, and taking time out of your schedule to keep us a little more informed on the things that are going on. I know that Greg and I have some more stuff in the works here in the future, and looking forward to spending some more time with you, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm looking forward to more collaborations with you guys.
Right on, buddy. Right on. Really looking forward to it. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight and sticking with us through the chat. Really appreciate y'all for being here. And I think that's about it for us for tonight, man. We're going to keep you all night. I
You
know.
finally had enough?
Well, Rural 2 IC is going live here in just a little bit, and it'll let folks take a potty break and get some snacks.
Intermission.
Yeah, you got to get some snacks. And keep your eyes on the Middle East, guys. And please just keep preparing. Keep getting your stuff ready. Go get some quality medical training. It's super important. Super important. You got to do the things now. You got to do the things now because when the time comes, you certainly don't want to learn these things under duress.
I'm going to
So-
cook you in a pot with salt, pepper, and onions and garlic. you time's up.
Get it done, folks. Thank you for joining us tonight, Greg. Really appreciate you being here. Stay safe, everyone. Hudson Valley Prepping and Survival, and we will catch you on the next one.
Quick question. Kill switch or beam footage?
Oh, give them the bean footage
Here you
one
go.
more time.
We all go